going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. I'm going to educate you guys today, especially those who don't know, right, about maps. All right, I'm going to bring you a video about a map. I want you to pay attention to this video about a map so you can see the size of countries on the planet in real life. Because your whole life, you've been programmed to believe one thing when in fact it's another thing. So to reprogram our subconscious, right, we have to retrain ourselves to view the world differently. You got to understand why the Middle East is so important for these white folk. You got to understand why Europeans have no respect or regard for Arabs. It ain't really about them or Islam. It's about routes. It's about shipping lanes. It's always been about shipping lanes and supply lines. If you in the way, you're going to get dealt with. Africa is 4 times bigger than what you know on the map. America is much smaller than you think. Greenland is a small island. Europe, the little 7%, Europeans, that little Britain is tiny. Okay, you need to understand. These places that have done all these things are not that big, not that impressive. And once you realize how unimpressive a lot of this shit is, and how impressive you are, how impressive Africa is legitimately the planet outside of Eurasia. Africa is the planet. South America is the planet. Asia is the planet. Europe is a peninsula. You know what a peninsula is? It's the coastline. Got little islands on it where people go up and down between the islands off the mainland. It's a coastline of Asia. All of that should be called Asia. They even threw the Eurasia. No, just Asia. It's always just been Asia, and them Europeans are just round-eyed Asians. They're round-eyed Asians. The majority of the world got hippocampus eyes. Let me tell you something. The majority of the world got hippocampus eyes. That's why you always see a black person. They be like, oh, you got Chinese eyes. Like, no, nigga, I got African eyes. Chinese got it from us. All Asians got their hippocampus eyes from us. Okay? Us. You round-eyed freaking Europeans are different. All right? Because y'all don't have sun. So y'all don't need these, right? We need these because we got, look at it. It's right there. I know it's your enemy right there. You can see it, right? That's your enemy, right? Your eyeballs are made to see in the clouds and shit. That's the fuck y'all made. That's why y'all got them big ass round eyes talking shit about everybody else. Anyway, I want you to see this map so you can know how big Africa is. It will put things into context of why Europeans don't want to sail all the way around Africa just to steal shit from Asia. And Arabs don't want to go all the way around Africa to get their goods anywhere. Nobody wants to go around. It costs too much money. And then you got to deal with the pirates just in case. So you not only got to deal with the distance, but you got to deal with the piracy, and you got to deal with that goddamn ocean over there by South Africa. That's some rough motherfucking ocean. And all the sharks and all the terrain and all kind of shit in that ocean. You guys just don't understand how absolutely. I've been in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I found out how insignificant we are as human beings when I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, making the carrier that I was on look like a tugboat. Okay? I seen waves, right, that looked like buildings. And it wasn't even a storm. Okay, you don't understand how big this world is, how massive. The word vast is more appropriate to use. Vast. Vast is you got to look up the definition of vast, okay, compared to big or large or giant, all right? Vast. That's how big Africa is, and vast is how big the ocean is. Ain't nobody trying to do that, all right? Trust me. So they rather genocide a group of Arabs, mixed mulattoes, all right, than spend their money and spend all that human capital to go around, Africa. That's just what it is. But anyway, without further ado, check out this goddamn map. And so you can know in your head, put it in your subconscious, that the earth don't look like what you think it look like. And that Africa is much more of the earth. And we are much more than you know subconsciously or consciously. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach some. I'm out.
On this map, Greenland and Africa look roughly the same size. Maybe Africa is a little bigger, but they're in the same ballpark, right? But here's the deal. Africa is actually 14 times larger than Greenland. 14 times! And maps like this one didn't just get it a little wrong, it got it catastrophically wrong. This is the map many of us grew up with. It was the one that was in my classroom and possibly yours as well. Thing is, maps like this portray a distorted version of reality. Let me show you how. Let's start with what we think we know. This is the Mercator projection, probably the most common world map of all time. And on this map, certain things look off, but you might not have noticed because at this point, this is just what a world map looks like to many of us. Greenland looks massive. Russia also is enormous. Alaska and Canada are ominous giant land masses. And Africa, it looks fine, normal sized. Now, here's what these places actually look like when you correct for the distortion. Africa. The entire United States fits inside of Africa. So does China. So does India. You could fit most of Europe in here too and still have room left over. Africa is absolutely massive. Greenland, it's roughly the size of the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's one country inside of Africa, just one. Alaska, which looks huge on this map, is actually smaller than Libya. Considering that these are the maps that are in classrooms, on walls, in movies, the one you've seen 1,000 times, it has subconsciously and fundamentally distorted your perception of what Earth actually looks like. Okay, but why? If this map is so wrong, why is it everywhere? Why did we all grow up with this thing? Why is it still in use today in Google Maps? Here's the thing. The Mercator projection wasn't designed to teach geography. It was designed in 1569 by a Flemish cartographer named Gerardus Mercator, and it was made for one very specific purpose: ocean navigation. And for that purpose, it's actually brilliant. If you're a sailor in the 1500s, you need to be able to plot a course on your map. You need to draw a straight line and have that translate into a constant compass bearing. North-northeast the entire way, for example. Mercator does that perfectly. Any straight line you draw on this map is a line of constant direction. Works great for navigation and is why it's still the most used map projection of all time. The trade-off: to make that map work, you have to stretch land masses the further you get from the equator. The poles get absolutely massive on the map, even though they're tiny in reality. Countries near the equator stay relatively accurate, but the further north or south you go, the more distorted everything becomes. Mercator knew this. He understood the trade-offs. He never intended for this to be hanging in classrooms or living rooms. It was a tool for sailors. But it became the standard anyway. So why did a 450-year-old navigation tool become the default way we visualize the planet? There are a few reasons. First, and this is worth acknowledging, the Mercator projection was created during the Age of Exploration. European powers were colonizing the world, building empires. And on this map, Europe looks pretty impressive. Britain, which is actually smaller than the state of Oregon, looks massive and imposing. Scandinavia looks huge. Meanwhile, Africa, which is bigger than all of North America, looks rather compact and manageable. Was this intentional? Probably not at first, but it is worth noting which version of the world stuck around for centuries. Second reason, it just became normal. Once Mercator was the standard, it became what a world map looked like in people's minds. Straight edges, Greenland big, Antarctica stretched across the bottom. Everything else kind of looked weird or looked wrong. And third, practically speaking, Mercator is easy to work with. It's a rectangle, easy to print, easy to hang on the wall, fits nicely in a textbook or a frame. A lot of the alternative projections are ovals or interrupted shapes that are just harder to deal with. But here's the problem. We stopped using paper charts for navigation decades ago. We have GPS now. We have satellites. We have digital maps that recalculate in real time. Yet this 450-year-old sailor's tool is still the default way most people picture Earth. And I think that matters. So what's the alternative? Well, there are actually dozens of different map projections out there. And here's the thing about map projections. You can't have it all. You're taking a sphere and flattening it onto a rectangle. Something has to give. So every projection makes trade-offs. There's still no such thing as a completely accurate flat world map. This is the Gall-Peters projection, also called an equal area projection. This one prioritizes accurate size. Every country is shown at its true relative area. Africa looks huge on this map because it is. Greenland looks small because it is. The trade-off? Shapes get distorted, especially near the equator. Countries look stretched vertically. It's a little weird to look at if you're used to Mercator. This is the Robinson projection. It's a compromise, a little bit of distortion everywhere, but nothing too extreme. It's not perfect for size, not perfect for shape, not perfect for anything really, but it's good at everything. National Geographic used this one for decades. This is the Winkle triple. Another compromise projection that tries to minimize distortion of size, shape, and distance all at once. This is what National Geographic uses now. And there are even more experimental ones, like the orthograph, which tries to unfold the globe like origami. Still pretty niche, but interesting. So which one should you actually have on your wall? Here's what I think. If you're going to have a world map in your home, and obviously I think you should, it should at least show you what the world actually looks like. I sell maps for a living, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And my recommendation? Get an equal area projection or a Robinson projection, something that prioritizes accuracy over historical convention. Because here's the thing about maps. They're not just decoration. They also shape how we see the world. If you spend your whole life looking at a map where Africa looks small, where Europe looks massive, where distances are completely wrong, that affects how you think. It affects how you understand geography, how you think about travel, how you process the news when you hear about a place. Maps matter. The version of the world we look at every day matters. So yeah, Greenland is not the size of Africa, not even close. And maybe it's time we all started looking at maps that actually show us the Earth the way it really is.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.